Hey everyone, welcome back to the second and final Kingdom Hearts 3 bonus video for now. In this video, we'll be taking on the ultimate boss in the game, at least the base game, and I'll be talking a little bit about how I feel about the game. This is a video I've attempted to make multiple times, mainly for the second part, just because I feel like I haven't come up with a good take of it. But this time, well, this video has to come out in like 2 days, so it's like, I should get it done. Anywho, how's it going? Hope everyone's doing well. The game has been out for a week from now. It'll be 2 months since the game has been in my hands. And that's pretty surreal. Since then, you know, I feel like my opinions can pretty much settle on a lot of aspects here, so I think that this will be pretty fun. Here's my setup going into this this bonus boss. Pretty much the best equipment you can pick up in the game, in my opinion, especially in the armor section. Stuff like Mickey Clasp and Flaniversary Badge combined with Classic Tone, which is going to be our Keyblade to use in this fight, are going to make it so my MP is really good, everything costs a lot less, and it's going to come back really fast. We also have the Crystal Regalia, which is the accessory you obtain from beating this fight, which gives you MP haste to go on top of it. So MP haste is the name of the game here. So we're gonna get started. Now, the reason I use Classic Tone is it's the ultimate magic Keyblade in the game, and I ran in wanting to use magic, and then it turns out Kingdom Hearts 3 decided that magic is the most powerful thing in the game. So that's neat. Here it is, Battlegate 14. Of the previous 13, they're mostly mob fights or refights against some mini-boss-like things, or like the Big Hero 6 giant kaiju fight. But this is all new. There's a lot to tackle, and a very little amount of time, because this boss gets it right into the thick of it. The boss in question being called Dark Inferno. Best way to describe this guy is they took an Invisible and they just made it more raw and dual wield. So, he has a few different combos he opens with. Here's the most common one. A super long combo string ending in an unblockable charge. After it, he is incredibly open to attacks until he puts up a guard coming up right here. He guards your attacks. If you attack again, he will immediately retaliate with super armor, so you'll get punished. So the goal for this fight is to adapt to his combos, avoid his last attack that is an unblockable red attack, and then punish him. And that is the most of what his attacks are for this fight. Also, he does a lot of damage. The other thing is he has that big sweeping attack that can immediately be punished with an air step or a simple jump if you're right in front of him. I also love Boom Hammer, which is part of Classic Tone, because it gives you guard form. Gives you a better defensive option, better guard, all that good stuff. Now I'm hoping to get access to Clock Drill, and we totally did. We are running into a problem that I'm gonna die if I don't take a heal here. Thankfully, MP recovery's pretty good. This is phase 2 of the fight, where he glows a bit more, has more attacks. He continues his combo strings for longer, which can be a problem. Look at our outline when we dig under. I've never noticed that. That's so fucking good. Oh my god, that's a thing? Learning more about this game every day. So we're gonna do the finish just because as it stands here, he's already gone. He digs into the ground to do the shot attacks. Make sure to be where he dunked in, and then immediately retaliate. Otherwise, he'll do a move like the big sweeping sword attack that covers a lot of distance. It's the most punishable attack, but after this phase, we won't be able to punish it anymore. Another thing you can do is tap him with thunder from any distance, and then immediately air strike. Or air step to him. It's an incredible move. I said air strike, where I'm like, that's the wrong thing, but then I'm like, it's kind of like a warp strike. I was just combining two terms. Okay, that kind of looked a little bit raw of us just going in with our own attempts to counter each other. Alright. Thankfully, with guard form, we have this. So we can simply block all of that damage. Attack. I had to do that a little earlier because of the wind-up. But it's working out. Alright, we have reached a problem. He is red now. He has entered the third and final phase of the fight. Now he's shooting off these blasts, but he's not leaving. He will instead use those blasts to set me up for even more damage and to keep me in the air, which can be a problem. Going into rage form because it's a free heal. Alright, we've knocked him up. This will deal some damage. We get that heal. It's back to normal. We're refreshing that. Because I desperately need some of this. Now I'm looking to hit him with Thunder just so I can set up. And this actually worked out a little. Ooh, this is a bad spot. That did not feel good. We're gonna pop a shot lock just to make ourselves a little safe here. Now I'm gonna drop this, get Max, and hit him with a fully charged cartoonish shot lock, mainly to get my MP close to being back. Oh, hold on. I was trying to do the air step thunder technique. Didn't really work out in my favor. Now we got it though. Setting him up. Alright, he's immediately going to counter, so we will reset with the hammer animation. Immediately heal, because that was a bad spot. And we're done. Thankfully, aerial recovery allows for that extra move that just lets you counter. And we burned through him. So all that took was me being at level 50, having really good gear, and 1 elixir. You can obviously do it at lower levels. There are other strats that you can employ on the boss. Anything from the 2 counter shield types you have between the hero, what is it called? Like the Hercules Keyblade. I was gonna say Hero's Crest, but that's KH2. You could use Hercules' Keyblade, or you could use the Ratatouille Keyblade. And both of those have shield mechanics, so you can actually super punish his attacks because he's incredibly aggressive. And then there's other options, and of course, Ultima Weapon can rip his health to shreds. But I like Classic Tone a bit more. I like employing cartoonish tactics against our super boss. And overall, I think it's a pretty good boss. That said, I think the opinion of this boss is a bit lower in my mind. Mainly because it's the only one. So usually there's a variety of bosses that have really cool theatrics, good visual flair to them, and a really good variety in the things that they do. And this is a more basic super boss. It has, off the top of my head, and it could be wrong, I'm pretty sure this thing has 5 attacks. Attack number 1, really long string of attacks on the ground ending in a charge. Attack number 2, 3 hits, one of them launches you, and then the final hit is like a big red slash you can't block. Then the third attack is another 3-hit string with a big red attack at the end, but that one is on the ground only and does not launch you. Then you have 2 more attacks left. There's the big ground sweep that hits a big radius. That's unblockable, the most punishable thing in the game when it comes to this guy. And then the final attack is the one where he dunks into the ground and sends out some black energy balls that spin around you for a little bit and then attack you in 3 waves. As it stands, that's every attack he has, and the only difference is through the phases, he changes his color, and then he strings some of these attacks together, and jumps away a lot. However, the boss is a lot more doable because there are modes you can just spam magic at him. I've seen... Actually, finally, you know, I looked at, like, leaks and stuff when the game was coming out, and, like, the whole Superboss thing of, oh, you can spam magic attacks on him, and the person just wins by spamming thunder at a distance, like, burning through bars. Like, I don't do that. I go for the more interesting approach of, you know, just casting a thunder, and then immediately, while he's in that stun, there's enough of a window to jet to him, which just seems more stylish. And I've seen a lot of videos of people styling on this boss that look really cool. But as it stands, its attacks are a little bit too limited for me, and I would have liked some cooler stuff. Kingdom Hearts is known for having some cool super bosses, even if you think that they're bad. Even if there's stuff like, oh, I don't think Mysterious Figure is a good boss, because, you know, it's rough. I mean, you're just rolling using Thunder Surge, or, you know, you don't find certain bosses to be good. At the very least, they are visually interesting. And what I can say is this boss isn't very visually interesting. It's cool, and would be a bit more, I'd be a bit more forgiving if it was not the only interesting super boss the game has to offer, but it's the only one that the game has to offer. There's some other fights, like there's a fight over here that makes you fight the giant kaiju from the Big Hero 6 world that you fight that jumps on top of the skyscraper. And there's the 2 golems that have the large axes that they turn into masks. You can fight 2 of those in Olympus, where you fought the Titans. But as it stands, this game doesn't really have an end game. Hey, use your combat to beat stuff up. I'd say that's the thing that people looked forward to the most with this game, and there wasn't as much here, and left people a little bit burned or disappointed. And it comes down to the fact that they have confirmed they're making more content for the game. It's going to be in a big DLC pack, and there will be free updates as they are completed that will also have stuff. One of those free updates confirmed is Critical Mode. And I guess that brings us into my final thoughts on the game. A brief version of my final thoughts, and then we'll go into talking about my feelings on, like, how people are taking the game and kind of what I expect. Kind of talking about my own expectations and stuff. I have 100% of the game. I played through it on Proud a couple of times. One, I did it on a lowish level challenge. One, I beat it at level 1. I was doing a low level challenge and then I kind of dropped off because I didn't like how it felt. But I did level 1. I did the normal playthrough for the Let's Play. And then I did a save hacked mode where I played on the placeholder critical mode they have in the game, which isn't a real critical mode. It's just people found the leftover data from Kingdom Hearts 0.2 where you can adjust the save file to be what they default critical mode to be. Which all it did was, oh, your HP and magic are slashed. It does nothing to the balance. It doesn't make the enemies harder, smarter, employ new attacks. Nothing. You just have less health and magic. I enjoyed it because I generally like the progression of your HP bar going from small to around the bottom of Sora's necklace on the UI. That's something I've always liked in Kingdom Hearts, just that feeling of progression. And that's something that this game lacks, because you just, look at my health, you just get so much so early that I feel like I like feeling the progression a little bit. So let's talk about, in general, like I've 100% of the game. I've played it quite a bit. I'm a big fan of the series, as you guys know. It's my favorite video game series of all time. Been with this series since like 2002. And I think it's great. I think it's fantastic, absolutely incredible. Pretty much everything I wanted from this game, which is great because personally I found Final Fantasy 15 to not hit my expectations. And that was a game that I was a similar level of hype about, like this one. I was counting down the days for that game to come out. I played the Japanese demo that was like, you can play half of Chapter 1 in that, and I played that a bunch. I watched every live stream ATR that they did for that game. I was super into it because, you know, I was into Versus 13. And while it changed, I was still ready to see what that game had to offer. And it felt unrefined. It felt like it had plenty of holes in it. I didn't feel like it was unfinished, but I felt like, you know, it felt like when someone does the bare minimum to pass. And I don't want to feel like that for a big JRPG adventure. I see a lot of people throwing around that comparison here, or at least trying to say that this feels like that. It doesn't, for me at all. This feels like a complete adventure. I really enjoyed everything about it. The finale was absolutely fantastic. The highest and fastest concentration of exciting events and stuff throughout the game. They just threw it all at me. And I was incredibly satisfied seeing all of the characters have seeing moments that you kind of imagine in your head over the years come to pass, like Sora meeting Aqua, going and getting Ven, Sora meeting Vanitas, learning what the Guardian is, saving Terra, a clash with Master Xehanort, a recreation of the Gathering secret, you know, ending from KH2, but now it's here in this game. This cool final dungeon. All of it kind of comes together. And just stuff like, you know, Xion, Roxas, and the Axel Cyax thing. Just all these things getting wrapped up. And I think everything I wanted to be wrapped up was covered. There were a few things I was concerned about, like how they would handle Cyax and Axel. I was hoping that that would be given, you know, the level of attention I wanted, which was enough to make it feel good, and they handled it really well. Everything I think was pretty good. Like, I really enjoyed this. This is very a lot of people were a little bit sad that there wasn't as much Nomura craziness in this game, I guess because there wasn't a lot of twists in this, aside from Xigbar being Lushu and Sora, like, fading away, stuff like that. You know, aside from that, there wasn't too much crazy here. It was a lot of stuff you would either expect, and a lot of people said they didn't like this game as much because it was a lot of stuff they expected to happen, and to be honest, I don't really get the criticism. Like, I get it. I get the concept of it, because all these Kingdom Hearts games end up having something crazy going on. But this one was definitely the one to not do a shit ton of crazy stuff with, because it's the end. Like, you did all the crazy stuff to get here, and you just it needs to be wrapped up. This is the final chapter. A lot of swerves would mean a lot less time given to hammering down a finale. And I think this game handled the finale well. There's a lot of people who have a lot of issues with the fact that this game loads everything at the end of the game. My personal take, this game gave itself a scenario that trapped it in a way, where it could not tell a story that could have a very easy middle chapter. Because when you think about it, everything's at the end, because that's what Kingdom Hearts 3 is. Kingdom Hearts 3 is just Sora has to go rescue these people, get it done, go to one world, and beat up Xehanort. And then they had to, like, build stuff off of it, of like, Sora's weakened, so he's got to get more power. Riku has to slowly make zero progress until Sora goes in there. Like, there's a lot of compromises had to be made because of what the scenario was. And that's why, you know, I said there was probably not going to be many twists, and just this is how it was going to go. Would I have liked to have it like a middle chapter in the game where you progress the plot a bit more? Maybe you rescued Aqua a little bit early, and then maybe you get Ven maybe a world or two before Endgame starts, and then they're resting and they're, you know, getting ready. And you could, like, use the excuse that Kyrie and Axel are still training. And then when the final world pops, it's time to go. I would have liked that. I would have liked a little bit more of my Kingdom Hearts stuff, gameplay-wise, in the middle to break up the Disney stuff. But something that saved that for me is that the Kingdom Hearts stuff was integrated a lot better in the Disney content than it has in the past, which allowed for me to not really get bored with it. Some people just said it's like all the Disney worlds are filler, and I feel like those people just don't have functioning brains while playing the game. Because it's just like, what are you talking about? How is it? And I feel like those people just don't look into anything very deeply. They always look at everything in the surface level. I feel like those are the same people that are going to go into this game and say that it's more focused on like setting up the next game than finishing this one off. I'm like, did you play the final few hours of this game? And I feel like people are going to have that take naturally because the game makes any reference or does anything that's set up. Like, it just comes off as really disappointing to me that the existence of takes like this where they're too focused on setting this stuff up. It's like, no, it's the audience, the hardcore audience is paying more attention to interviews and what happens to these series than they were when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, where they go, okay, I know there's gonna be a new game. So anytime they hint at a new game, they're like, man, look at this game. It doesn't feel like a true finale. That and the fact that Sora doesn't, you know, get a happy ending, and this doesn't feel like a perfect conclusion that closes everything up while still hinting at a sequel. People make it feel like it's not complete in a way, and it's not a true finale in a way, but it's like, it was never going to be that, and I feel like the ending was really well foreshadowed and well executed. So I just don't really get a lot of the negative opinions here. Like, I can't agree in the slightest with a lot of it. I would have liked a middle point in the story, though. That's something I will agree with. Maybe lock away parts of Twilight Town and then use the other sections in a revisit. I think that would have been really, really cool. Because it's clear that they weren't going to be able to finish Radiant Garden or make that a playable world. Mostly because not a lot of gameplay story needed to happen there aside from some stuff with Zexion. So, with that being said, there is one outstanding issue I have with the game, or it's more of a thing that I need to happen with the game moving forward, and that's I need reasons to play the game past the credits. As it stands now, there are battle gates, but these battle gates are not very good, in my opinion. There's only a couple that I find to be good, and those are the Twilight Town one and the Frozen one. Now, those introduce brand new enemies. Brand new enemies, technically. They bring back the old Kingdom Hearts 2 nobodies, the Sorcerer, I think it's called, and the Berserker. And they're served as, like, mini-bosses, because they have a bunch of health, and they're not in the main game. Those are interesting because they give you a new enemy. And then, of course, there's Dark Inferno, which is interesting because he's like a super boss. The rest of them are mob fights or reuse a mini-boss, and I just don't find them engaging very much. What worked for special portals and Dream Drop Distance is they gave you little challenges and goals to do while you fought the enemies, which I feel like were better than what we got here. But I think the reason that I end up being a bit more unforgiving on these gates is that because they aren't... They're all we have. Now, if we had other things like maybe purple battle gates, and we call those, like, you know, these battle gates would allow you to say, I run up here, and there's like a purple battle gate off to like the left side. Like, imagine they put like one here, they put one up there, they put one on the right, and you can do solo fights against each of the 3 bosses you fought in this arena. And then another special one is like put in front of this one right here, and then you select that one, and then you can replay the fight in the normal way that it was before. And all of those fights have been scaled up like toward maybe 5 or 6 levels above endgame. You know, 5 to 10 levels above it. So they're dealing more damage, and you have solo versions of it. And you peppered them across here, and you peppered them throughout the Disney worlds where every boss in the game is refightable, but are prepared for you beat the game. Because that's what Dream Drop Distance had, with the exception of the final world in that game, where it had secret portals where you could fight the world bosses of the Disney worlds and Traverse Town, and they were endgame level, and you beat them and you got a Keyblade. I believe that's when you get Unbound. And then you had the special portals giving you a Keyblade called End of Pain, because doing that entire thing was painful. So I feel like you could have done that, had more battle portals in general, maybe with some more interesting concepts in them. And then, of course, we needed extra bosses in this game. Just brand new concepts for bosses, or maybe even bring back old ones. I wouldn't have been opposed if you somehow found a way to bring back Kurt Zisa and, like, get to see what he is in a higher fidelity. And I feel like he could have worked pretty interestingly. I would have liked to see more super bosses, and I think the other thing, I'd like the game to be harder, because as it is right now, it's pretty easy to get through it unless you put your own stipulations on it, like go and do save hacking to make it so you have less health and MP, or going in and saying I'm gonna play this on level 1, but no difficulty right now feels definitive. There's no definitive, like, best feeling to play the game for me, and I have to wait until a critical mode to get that. But that being said, that doesn't mean my opinion on this game is going to be low, because this is what Kingdom Hearts does. If there's going to be an updated version or updates to the game that are going to be made, then good. Then I will judge the game, 100% when that's out, because that's kind of just how it's been. I feel like a lot of people are a lot more strict on Kingdom Hearts 3 because it's doing the thing that Kingdom Hearts games do. I feel like the people who are fans of this series also expected Kingdom Hearts 3 to suddenly do things differently. But Kingdom Hearts has always gone with two approaches. With its main games, more often than not, they get the game out as fast as they can, and then they whip up a better version later. And then that's the person everyone plays and the one that everyone praises. The other approach is they bring that shit out because it doesn't matter as much as the main games most of the time, and then they don't do a final mix or anything, and then it's just out. This has been the approach for games like Days, Recoded, Dream Drop Distance, though that's mainly because they wanted to fucking get started on KH3, and 0.2, which, they're working on KH3. Those modes ended up having critical modes, should they have them, or should that have been a standard, and all of the extra content that they planned on putting on them. But games like KH1, 2, Birth by Sleep had final mix versions, and they added extra difficulty stuff, additional enemies, recolored enemies, new bosses, new cutscenes, the works. And people tend to forget that, and some people just kind of... I saw some people saying it's unfair that they're doing it like this. I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking... They used to fucking put out a video game, then release it over here months late, and then they would make a final mix version of this game, and they're like, alright, here's the trick. We're not gonna release it outside of Japan, and we're gonna put in shit that's gonna matter for the sequels, cool super bosses. You don't even fucking get it. You doomed. If you're a fan of Kingdom Hearts, you most likely, it's like you love Kingdom Hearts 2 like me, and then you go on YouTube and learn there's some final mix ending where there's like some older looking dude you think like is older Sora, some blue haired girl, and Rox is fighting a Baldman, and you don't know what's going on. But somehow Kingdom Hearts 3 having a final mix seems a little bit unfair. It's having some DLC, so they're gonna fill out more of the extra post-game content. It's a little unfair. No, we're being treated so much better here, because we're all gonna get it at the same time. Because it's DLC. I don't think we're gonna have this moment where they're like, here's our DLC 1 month early for Japan. Now that that's in my head, I'm like, you know, in some reality that would happen. But thankfully, you don't have to worry about it leaking. It's a digital thing, so Nomura's not gonna care. So they're gonna get this done. It's gonna be exciting. And I feel like a lot of people are just extra harsh on this game, expecting that it should have had more super bosses, saying, well, when Kingdom Hearts 1 came out, it had Kurtzisa, it had the Phantom, it had all this. Of course, these people don't realize, when the game came out in Japan, it only had the Phantom as its boss. In the way Birth by Sleep didn't have a critical mode, and only had Vanitas' Sentiment as a boss. Because as it turns out, Kingdom Hearts teams pretty much are given a certain amount of time, and once it's done, they're like, all right, we finished it, and then we can build off it. And that's what Kingdom Hearts games have been doing, especially with the core teams, whether it's the one in Tokyo or Osaka that replaced the Tokyo one because Tokyo team doesn't exist anymore. So we're at this point where they're making the games, they're finishing them, and this is the first one where they couldn't give the localized version more content than the Japanese version because everything was being released within a week of each other, and they just didn't have time this time. They had the luxury, but now our game is as barren, I say in air quotes, as the Japanese version. Which I would like more content because I like the game, but I understand why there isn't, and they said they're going to make more. Nomura said in multiple interviews in the past month or two, and in the Ultimania that came out for the game, that Kingdom Hearts 3 is getting extra bosses, it's getting a critical mode, that's going to be a free patch, and other updates, and expansions to the finale of the game here in the Keyblade Graveyard. So I'm excited for where that goes. Also, a lot of people, I also keep seeing people going like, man, Scarlet Kylam was the final world. Like, one, no, that's not the final world. The final world is the final world. But if we ignore that one, the last world is the one I'm in right now. It's Keyblade Graveyard. Scarlet Kylam, despite the fact that it has a dope-ass, like, intro sequence, that's the equivalent of opening the door in End of the World, or opening the door in the world that never was. It is the final area. And a lot of people like to scream cut content or something, as if fucking every video game ever made doesn't have cut content. But also that, you know, it was always meant to be a huge explorable world. You don't fucking know that. You're trying to fill a narrative based on what your hopes and dreams were for a game. And I feel like expectations can get away from you, a lot of people, and people are getting burned. And I also don't feel like it's very fair to get mad at the developers for getting burned, because it's really all on you. In the end, I found the game to really, really, truly be good. I really don't have that many issues with it. I see a lot of people saying that they just don't like this game's balance and everything. I don't have much problem with it, besides I think fire magic and magic in general could be nerfed a little bit. Just a little bit. But aside from that, I just want a higher difficulty so this game's a bit more challenging. It'll make me replay it more. And I want more post-game bosses, extra bosses. Also, maybe let me play as Lingering Will when he shows up in the story, and let me fight Terranord. That's pretty much all I'm looking for. Also, let me play as Roxas and every character in the game, and then give me 400 hours of content. Maybe that too. But as it stands, this game feels great. I played through it like 3 or 4 times the month it came out. Loved it. Loved it. There's a lot of really good potential here for once the final difficulty, the critical mode, comes out. And I'm looking forward to whatever DLC content they add to the game. But as it stands, I'm really satisfied. So, we're over 30 minutes in. I feel like I should cap it off. Overall, there's a lot of people who love this game. There's a lot of people who hate this game, or say it's the, you know, it's the biggest disappointment of all time, which I think is hilarious. It's so fucking funny to me. Like, I don't know what you expected. I guess it's because Final Fantasy 15 just totally slammed my face into the pavement and made me go, why don't I look at what they show in pre-release and assume that's all they have? And then that's what I do now. And I'm like, oh shit, this had a little bit more than I expected. Boom! Like, that's how I'm gonna expect it with this stuff. Because I know Square mostly spoils, at least in terms of locations, everything. Like, they show you pretty much everything in their games. So, like, it's impossible for me to, like, have my expectations over the moon. So, yeah, I think Kingdom Hearts 3 is really good. Fantastic. I can't judge it compared to my favorite, KH2 Final Mix, because that's a Final Mix and this isn't. A lot of people say that's, you know, what does that matter? This game took longer to make than KH2 did, and those people don't know how game development works, so we're not engaging. I'm excited to see the final version of this game, and I'm more excited to, like, see them move on and make the next big Kingdom Hearts game. There will be more content when it comes to me with Kingdom Hearts. There will be further bonus videos for when the new updates come out and I get to experience blind, like, my first time interacting with some of this new stuff. I'll likely do many streams of the critical mode whenever it comes out. And there will be LP videos of Union Cross updates, probably starting next month. We'll see. But with that being said, thank you so much for supporting this series. It means a lot to me. You guys have been great throughout all of them. And yeah, I will see you for more KH content in the future and all the other stuff that I do on this channel. Please don't leave. Please, you're all I have. Bye.